have it. It's fine. Google told me.
Okay, question 1 is the stats basic stuff. So the mean, we're going to add and then divide. So add all that up. So 10 plus 14, 9, 15, 10, and 8. I was getting 66 divided by the n. There's 6 items. So that means the average, the mean, is 11. Okay, the median is the one that's in the middle. Can't do it right now. What do I have to do before I look into the middle? Order. So 8, 9, 10, 10. Did I miss one? 8, 9, 14, 15. Is there one thing in the middle? Nope. What do you do if there's not a one thing in the middle? You take 2 things in the middle, and then you have to average those 2 things. What's the average of a 10 and a 10? Alright, so the median is 10. What is the mode? So I always think MO, most often. That's what I always use to remember that one. MO, most often. So which one occurs more so than the others? Okay, we got a 10 again. Alright, the mid-range is the average of the top bottoms. So 8 plus 15, what's the average? So 8 plus 15, 23, and then average. So the mid-range is 11.5. And the range says how spread out is our data. So 15 subtract 8 means our data spans across 7. Okay, standard deviation. So this one you're going to have to do a chart for. And so I'm going to look at my formula sheet here. So this is the formula. So I'm going to start making a chart with an x minus mean, and an x minus mean squared. Okay, and I don't have my chart items memorized. I just looked at the formula and I thought, well, what do I need? I need to figure out x minus the sum of an x minus mean squared. Okay, so my x values were 8, 9, 10, 10, 14, 15. And we already figured out our mean was 11 from above. So 8 minus 11, negative 3 squared, 9. 9 minus 11, negative 2 squared is 4. 10 minus 11 is negative 1, squared is 1. 14 minus 11 is 3, squared is 9. 15 minus 11 is 4, squared is 16. So I need the sum of that column. 5 seconds. 5 seconds. Not with fruit. Not with fruit. Okay, I got a 40 when I put all those together. Okay, so I'm going to write this down. You do not need to. You're probably looking at your formula sheet here. Okay, so the sum of that, so that was 40. Do we remember what the n talks about? What is the n? How many items we had, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Are you okay if I put a 5 there? Okay, so 40 divided by 5 is 8, and the square root of 8 is 2.83. Okay, so the first 4 questions I asked you talked about the centralized data. Like, what's the data doing in the middle of the data? And the range and standard deviation describe how spread out the data is. Okay, can you draw a normal distribution curve? So what goes in the middle? 11? Okay, on the 1 tick mark above, what should that number be? Does anybody know how to get that number? I need to add that. So 13.83. Then I go up another standard deviation. So these are all 1 standard deviation above, 2 standard deviations above. So 16.66. If I go up another standard deviation, okay, so then these ones just mean go subtract a standard. I'm supposing you're all just waiting to see if I type it in. So if I go down a standard, minus 2.83 again, minus 2.83 again, and that's my curve. So when I analyze this, do you remember about what percent of your data should be between this zone? Do you remember a random approximate number? 68% of your data should be in that zone. 98% of your numbers should be in this zone. And within this, there should be 99.7% of your numbers should be in that. Okay? By the way, this would be very hard to figure out with a sample size of 6. This stuff is more when you have a larger sample size, right? It works a little bit better. Okay, what percent of the data is between 13 and 15? So there was our 11, so I want to know what's between a 13 and a 15. So that's what I want to know. I'm a drawer because that's going to help me understand my Z scores being positive or negative. Okay, because our chart doesn't help us with negative, so we have to figure that out on our own. Okay, this is all in scores, real life scores. I got to make these scores into Z scores. So Z equals 13 minus 11 over, I already flipped my page, was it 2.83? So Z's, I'm just going to go 2 decimals because that's as much as our chart does. Okay, I'm also going to do the Z score for 15. Okay, so this is grabbing your paper chart time. I need to look up a Z score of 0.71. So 0.71, I'm going to get 0.2611. So do you see my 0.71? That's okay? 0.2611. And then I'm going to do the same thing with 1.41. So 1.41 is 0.4207. Okay, now that I have that, what should I do with those numbers? Multiple choice, would I add or subtract those values? Subtract. So subtract those numbers and then that would give you the percent in the between zone. Did you not find it on the chart? I know, and I just... Yeah, you don't have to do anything with the 0.5 on this. Okay, so the next question says, what's between an 8 and a 14? So 8 is over on the left, and 14 is over on the right. So the data between. And again, the same question, it's giving me scores, but not Z scores. So Z equals 8 minus 11 over 2.83. So same thing, I'm going to keep doing this. So negative 1.06. Same thing with the 14. Oh, 1.06. I guess because that's 3 above and that's 3 below, so that makes sense. I should have seen that. Somebody probably already outsmarted me and saw that. Okay, so chart Z time, 1.06. So there's my 1.0, wait, 1.06. So 0.3554. Okay, so I'm going to do that on both sides because it's the same number. Multiple choice, what do you want to do, add or subtract? The total area between them is going to be the add, right? Some of you might just say timesing by 2, and that's all good, same idea. And you can leave it. You don't have to write 71.08% of the data. I'm just okay with decimals. Okay. What percent is below 10? So 10 is here, and I want to be below it. Okay, Z score again, because 10 is not a Z score. Okay, so I made the 10 into a Z score. Now I'm going to do the table lookup with a Z score of 0.35. So 0.35 gets me to 1368 right there. So 1368. Remembering the chart is me to the middle. So 1368 is between me and the middle. So what do I do to find this section? Now we're going to have to do the 0.5, subtract that. Okay, one more like that. So what percent of the data is above 6? So that's what I'm looking for. Okay, because 6 is here. So Z score for 6. The 6 Z score. Okay, now I'm going to do the 1.77 on the chart. So 1.77. So here's my chart number, 0.4616. .4616. So what do I want to do to get that whole section? I'm going to have to add it to 0.5. So 0.9616. So I'm going to give you those questions. I'll give you some where I actually just give you the Z. And then I'll give you some where it was like this, and then you got to make the Z. Okay? So this was just the harder example, so you're going to also have some easier ones where I give you the Z. Okay, this time we're going to work backwards. So what score are you if 20% of the data is above you? So this time 20% of the data is above me. So what am I? %20 is percent, and I'm trying to go back into scores. So this is the backwards. So I'm going to think about where I am. What is the between me and the middle? So there's 30% in that zone. So now when I go to my table, do I look on the outsides of the table or the inside region this time? Now I'm going to the percent region, so I'm looking for anything as close to 30% as I can be. Sometimes it might land in the middle and take like a 0.5 onto it. Okay, so I'm at 0.2995, that's close enough. So the Z score is 0.84. Here's probably where you want to ask yourself, is it a positive or negative z-score? And that's the reason I draw them. So it's positive. So 0.84 equals me, my score, subtract the mean over the standard. So that's the formula, but this time I don't know the x of it. Okay, so algebraically times the bottom, add 11. So your score is 13.38. Okay, last one. One more like that. 60% is above you. So you are, that's where I am. 60% of the people are above me. So my first thing is from me to the middle. What is that? How much from me to the middle? So 10% is in that zone. Okay, so now I'm on my chart. And I'm in the middle section. So I'm looking up 10% as close to possible as I can. Okay, I don't know. That one's like 13 off and this is 26 off. What do you want to do here? 0.253? 0.253. Okay, that's what my chart is telling me, but here's the spot where I catch people. What am I missing? It's negative. That's why I do suggest drawing them, because now I can see, hey, that's negative because it's below mean. Or just somehow you got to remember, below mean. So negative 0.253 equals my score minus 11 over 2.83. Okay, and that will change your math if you forget. And by the way, if you looked at your answer at the end, you should say, ooh, I should be under 11. If 60% are above me, I should be somewhere under 11. So if you forgot to do the negative, your number would be too high. Okay, R values. So reading the R chart. So I gotta grab my sheet again here. So I'm gonna go to a 19. Okay, the 0.5 is larger than that number. The 0.5, nope, it's not larger than that. So if it's larger than this, I can be here, which means yes, there's a 95% chance. So yes, there's a correlation. The level is a 95% confidence. Okay, 12 is my sample size. 0.75 is larger than that and larger than that. So now I can be in this column, so 99%. So yes, they're correlated, 99% sure they are. All right, the last one is a 35. 0.3, nope, it's not bigger. So it doesn't even reach that, so there's no correlation. I didn't do an example on this review, but you will have to make sure on the test that you've practiced finding R once. Okay, we're not going to do it, so somewhere along the line, make sure you've done that formula to get the R. Okay, this would be a weighted mean question. So the person got 70% on the first assignment, and it's weighted with 10%. Then they got a 65 on the second assignment with a 10% weighting. They earned a 70 on the midterm with a 30%, and an 85 worth a 50% weight. Okay, so you're timesing them by the weightings. That's the thing you're changing. Please don't change the grades, right? You don't want to do 10 times 0.7, right? I'm a 10% weight. Aren't you excited that your universities will be more like this? %? Anybody else get that? Okay. I typed something wrong in the first time. I had like 140 something. Okay, percentiles. Oh, I should also add maybe practice the weighting. There was maybe the GPA styled question as well, right? The weighting, GPA, that was kind of that zone. Okay, this would be percentile rankings. Okay, so it's not ordered, is it? Okay, so 3 is the lowest. I'm going to cross it off because there's so many of them to follow. And then I have a 4. What's next? A 6, 6. 8. 9. 10. 13, 15, 18, 19, 23. Did everybody count how many that was all? 1, 2, 3. Oh, I did miss. See, that's why I crossed them out. 20, 23. Like that? That's good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 13? Is there 13 of them? You guys can see how bad my counting skills are today, so somebody else maybe count them. 13. Okay, what score is in the P25, the 25th percentile? So 13 scores times 0.25 equals 3.25.
Hello. She can come.
Okay, so in the percentile ranking stuff, we're always talking about being under. So which term am I? If there's 3.25 scores below me, I'm the 4th term. Does that make sense if I say it in that way? Percentiles, what's under me? So if there's 3.25 scores under me, I'm the 4th term. So that's me, 6. Okay, what is the percentile ranking on the 18? So how many are under? How many scores are under 18? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 scores are below it out of the 13. So I'm dividing and I get 0.962 da da da. But how will I write this? I don't want to write it as a decimal and I don't want to write it as a percent. What should I write? I can go P69 or I could go 69th percentile ranking. But don't do percent sign. It's not what we want. Okay, we have a multiple choice question, 20 questions on it. Each question has 3 options. What's the probability that we're going to get exactly 25% on this test? So how many questions do we need to get right? There's 20 questions. If I'm going to get 25%, means I got how many questions correct? 5. Okay, so 20, choose 5. I need to get 5 questions right. Okay, what's the chance of me getting a question correct? There's like an A, B, C, right? 3 options, A, B, C. What's the probability that I pick the correct one? 1/3. And I have to do that 5 times. I have to get 5 correct. Then what's the probability that I would get this question wrong? 2/3. And then how many questions would I end up getting wrong on this test? 15. Okay, you'll probably want to type that all in one whole piece into your calculator. I'm not sure. Does anybody else have a problem typing the choose and then a bracket beside theirs, or it doesn't work, does it? So you have to push the times button between? Okay. There's about a 14.5% chance that that's going to happen to you. Okay, last question. Airplane has 400 seats. The probability of showing up is 96%. So that's the probability. So what's the Q? What's the not showing up? It's a 0.04. What's the mean and the standard deviation for this? Okay, so here is my formula sheet. So I'm here, the binomial mean. So it equals n. So 400 times 0.96. In other words, I'm just trying to think, what am I expecting? How many people should I expect? 384. So the standard deviation formula, that's on your sheet. The square root of NPQ, so 400.96.04. Be careful on the 0.04. I find a lot of people making mistakes on just writing 0.4 instead of 0.04. Okay, now the airplane changed what they were going to do. So they decide, hey, let's sell 405 tickets. Okay, so we need the new mean. if now you're going to sell 405 tickets, I'm going to do 405. How many people am I expecting now? Okay, so the new standard deviation, so I'm using the 405. Okay, here's probably where I would see mistakes happen, is that people forget they have to do a new mean. And they try to use the mean from above, but we change the seats. Okay, overbooking means you're over 400. I'm going to use 400.5 because I guess technically here's kind of the reasoning. We're still okay if we sell 400 or that 400 people come. We're still okay. I'm only a problem if I'm over it. Okay, so Z score is 400.5 minus the mean over the standard. So I'm going to get the Z score on that. So I got a 2.97 Z score. That's where I can go back to my chart. Z score 2.97. 0.4985. Okay, so to get the above it, because I want to worry about overbooking, so that's anything above that, I'm going to do the 0.5 subtract. This just says what's the probability. I might ask you more questions about it being a good decision, so your chances are pretty low of overbooking, so it'd be a good business decision to overbook. You probably, at that, you can probably even try to book more than 405 seats, to be honest, because that's so low. If I was this company, I would go up more, okay? And there's literally a person that gets hired in these companies to figure all this out, to see like where is our break even on how many extra seats should we be selling and things like that.